so great to have Trevor on talking about chip reverse mortgages. There's so much to learn there.
Yeah.
I feel like we could have talked an hour just about the nuances. There's so many of our borrowers that have aging parents that are like, my parents just need some financial advice and they're calling me and all these things. And it's good to learn about something new. I've done some with Trevor before, but I think there's just a big opportunity. And there's so much of our population is getting older and older. And a lot of them, they own these houses free and clear. So I think there's a big opportunity to really help people put themselves in a better financial position and keep them in their homes longer.
Absolutely. And of course, a reminder, if people feel as though they want more of those answers, contact you.
Yeah, reach out to me because I can run the calculator with them to see if
Right.
it makes sense or does another product make sense. And I think it's just about having an evaluation.
Right on. Okay.
For sure.
Let's talk about something that's been in the news this past couple of weeks, certainly been hot on my talk show, and that is the cyber breach with Nova Scotia Power. And a lot of people have concerns because social insurance numbers were compromised. We don't know exactly how many, but a lot of data, including Nova Scotia Power customers,
I heard the number was at 200,000 or so.
Right, two plus 100,000. Plus, I've heard that or employees of Nova Scotia Power have had information compromised, which is very sensitive as well. So the bottom line is that we always should be hyper vigilant about our credit.
100%.
And you've talked about this a lot, right? Credit when you're talking about a mortgage is so important. So what are some ways?
It's not the be all and end all, but it is very important. And it's not just about getting a mortgage, Todd. Getting a job, getting an apartment,
Right.
getting a car. Credit card. You need to have decent credit.
That's right.
Or, sometimes it becomes more challenging.
Right, but it does dovetail, obviously, into mortgage lending.
100%.
In a massive way.
100%.
So you've talked about this a lot, and it's paramount now. And what are some ways that people can monitor and protect their credit?
I think first, there's a couple of free apps. We've talked about this before. There's Borrowell, which is tied to Equifax, and Credit Karma, which is tied to TransUnion. You don't just need one, you need both. The reason these apps are free, and you can download them on the Apple Store or Android Store or whatever, the reason they're free is they're going to try to sell you some credit products. You don't have to take it, but you still have to give them your personal information. So you need to be able to trust these apps, and they will monitor your credit, and they are going to update your score and your report every week for free, and it doesn't impact your credit at all. You can also, if you don't want to be sold anything, if you don't want to, give a third party your information, you can go directly to Equifax and you can go directly to TransUnion and sign up for credit monitoring. But their services are somewhere around $30 a month each.
Okay, so is there a rule of thumb for which lenders use which Equifax or TransUnion?
Different lenders use Equifax, different lenders use TransUnion. I would say all lenders report to both. Some will actually pull both. Different insurers will pull both. So it really depends which lender, what type of product you're getting. And sometimes people's score on one versus another is higher or lower. And I would really stress to our listeners that small changes in your score is not a big deal. My own score, I monitor on I use Borrowell and Credit Karma myself. And sometimes my score goes up and down 2, 3 points, 5 points every couple weeks because it's updating data all the time. Your credit card statement post, your line of credit statement post, your mortgage updates. So and the algorithm changes as well. So your score is going to change all the time. So don't worry if there's small changes, not a big deal. And inquiries are really the smallest piece of the score. I mean, people think inquiries is the biggest piece. No, paying your bills is the biggest piece. Number one, and that stays on the longest, 6 years. And number two is really utilization.
Right. So if you sign up for Equifax, let's suggest.
Yes.
And do they notify you if somebody tries to open up credit in your name?
Everything you get a notification for.
Is that
An
right?
inquiry, a new account, changes in your score, public records. There's so many different categories that will report to you, and they're going to send you an email every time there's been a credit factor that has changed.
All right. So if that's something that you have not done yourself, what steps then do you take?
I would definitely sign up for it, whether you're going to go to the free route or the paid route. And I've heard that Nova Scotia Power and Emera, they're providing some free credit monitoring, I think, for 12.
For TransUnion for 2 years.
True, 2 years for TransUnion.
Yeah.
I don't think that's enough.
No.
I think you need Equifax and TransUnion because they're going to show different things. So you really need both.
Right. Okay. So what I'm getting at is let's say that you signed up for TransUnion, which I've done, and I get an email saying that somebody tried to open a Visa in your name.
Then you need to contact that vendor right away.
Yeah.
And the sooner you strike, the better the chances are to be able to shut it down.
Yeah.
And you can also put a warning on your credit bureau to say, do not grant credit until you call me.
Really?
But you need to make sure it's your personal telephone number. So many times people put these warnings on there and it's their home number.
Yeah.
And if you're not answering, it's a pain.
Yeah.
So you need to make sure it's your cell phone if you're going to put it on there. But that means you're going to get no automatic credit approvals. Everything is going to go to manual underwriting. And I think those warnings will stay on for 6 years.
Is that right?
So you can put a warning on TransUnion and you can put a warning on Equifax.
Does it cost to put the union
No.
or the warning on it?
No cost.
Really? So I can contact Equifax
And say, do not grant credit without doing a verbal.
Really? And
It's basically what we call a fraud warning.
And there's no so to me that makes a lot of sense.
Especially if you're not looking to get automatic credit approvals.
Right.
Like if you're like, I don't need any credit. If I'm going to get a mortgage, sure, they can call me. No big deal.
Yeah.
And I see this happening all the time. Usually what we refer to this as lost wallet. And that's usually say lost wallet, do not grant credit without calling.
Right. Wow.
So it would be the same thing to be like, you could put on data breach, do not grant credit without calling me.
Yeah.
And it puts on an additional safeguard. So if you were involved in this breach, and I'm not sure everyone that was involved already knows they're involved or not, but if you were involved in this, Nova Scotia Power, Emera breach, if you're okay not getting automatic approvals, put on the fraud warning then.
Okay. So
it's not going to hurt, and it will stay on there for 6 years.
all right. So that doesn't mean that you have to sign up for the regular credit monitoring then.
I would still do it.
Yeah.
I mean, more is more,
Yeah.
especially if you're looking to protect yourself.
Right.
But some people just get so anal on the credit.
Yeah.
A change in your score of 2-5 points literally makes no difference.
Yeah.
Literally no difference.
Right.
But people are just, they want that unicorn. The score is out of 900. They want to have the 900.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I don't have any installment debt.
Right.
I don't have any loans.
Yeah.
I just have line of credit card. So my score is not as high as it potentially could be because I don't have a car loan, right? So, any score really above 730, 740 is perfect.
Yeah.
You don't need to worry.
Yeah.
If your score's in the 800, you're even better. People want to get to the 900, but, it's really not something that people need to worry about. There's nothing that's going to hold you back from having a score in the 700. 700 is still a great score. Once it goes below 700, though, Todd, we typically need to answer some questions like, why is it low? Is it utilization? Are there missed payments? Are there, some public records on there? Like, what happened? Was there a collection? There's a reason why it's below 700 usually.
Right. So if somebody does fraudulently open up an account and is using it, and you find out about that, and
you need to call that creditor.
But how difficult is it to prove that that's not?
It
you
can
and
be
get
a
rid of it?
problem.
It can be a real problem.
It can be a problem.
Yeah.
But, they have to have a lot of data points to be able to open an account. They need to have like your name, date of birth, social insurance number sometimes, address.
Stuff that they probably would they would already have from this breach.
Could be. That's why it's important to keep an eye on the credit. And if you see something that is unusual, strike while the iron's hot. Because I get clients in and say, that's not my account. That's not my account. That's not my account. Does it happen every day, Todd?
Yeah.
Not as much today as it did probably 20 years ago.
Really?
But think if you had the same name as your father or your grandfather.
Yeah, sure.
There can be some problems because oftentimes people will do credit applications but not give their freaking SIN number.
Yeah.
So they try to best match it to the person, but if you're not giving your SIN number, that can be a problem. So I'd also recommend if you're going to do an actual real legitimate credit inquiry, do it with your SIN number. You're going to get the most accurate probably inquiry at that point because sometimes there can be multiple bureaus and there can be mismatch.
So when you sign up for the free apps that you're talking about, you have to provide your SIN.
I think so, and I'd recommend giving it.
Yeah.
But when we're talking about things like Emera and Nova Scotia Power housing your SIN, I think there were some privacy problems there.
Absolutely.
Typically, different industries have different requirements on holding data as well. But I heard that they had data from like years and years ago. So I think it was probably a policy issue around retention of data and what data points needed to be retained. We don't know about their system. Their system could have been something that they built 30 years ago and they have all the data from 30 years ago, which they did not need to have. You probably only need the data from the last 6 or 7 years, for example. So the scope could have probably been smaller. But I think and I hope this will help strengthen Nova Scotia Power and Emera's, data policy.
Let's hope so.
And I think other big companies will take this issue and build their best policy to help protect consumers going forward.
Okay, before we run out of time, as always, how do people get a hold of you, Clinton?
Check us out online at teamclinton.ca/radio. We have hundreds and hundreds of blog posts. We have social links to our social accounts. You can see what Todd and I look like. And I really thank all our listeners for supporting us over the last several years. And we have a whole bunch of new shows coming later in the year, and I'm sure there's going to be lots of great content as well.
If you've liked what you've heard and you want to learn more, feel free to visit us online at teamclinton.ca.